What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast. We are back. Episode 254. I am your host, Ainsley Bowden, and we're mostly back. We're missing one today, which we'll talk about. But I am happy to be back talking video games with these two gentlemen you see before you. Mr. HoegLaw himself. How we doing, brother?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing, Ains? It's
very well. Yes, it's been 3 weeks since I've been on Bitcast, which generally I think is the longest I've ever taken off a Bitcast, which is kind of crazy. Just kind of worked out that way, but
lazy.
It's okay. Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah,
it happens. And of course, you know him well. He's the man in the tie, Mr. Travis. Good morning, sir.
McClunky. Good morning.
I was waiting for you to say something else, but you're good.
Okay. Start the show, man. I'm ready. Let's do this.
Yeah, fantastic. It's good to be back, chat. Good morning, good afternoon. As you may notice, Dan is not here this week. Agent 48 is on a mission, top secret mission we can't talk about, even though we just did, so keep that to yourself. He will hopefully be back next week. Keep him in your thoughts, prayers, whatever you like to do. Hopefully he makes it back alive. We shall see.
Yeah. He's definitely hanging out with some people that he may assassinate. We don't know.
Very true. Very true. So we've got a lot to talk about today because we haven't talked in a while. So we've kind of had to pick and choose topics here, but obviously we're going to talk about what we're currently playing, including Final Fantasy 16 is finally here. I know we've got some thoughts on that. We had the huge court case this week, FTC versus Microsoft, and how that's affecting the acquisition of Activision-Blizzard. So we'll be talking on that, of course. But we also want to talk about Starfield because I haven't talked to these guys since the Xbox Showcase and Starfield Direct, and I really want to talk about what was shown. And Hoeg, I know, shared a lot of thoughts previously on Starfield when it was shown last year. So I want to see kind of where we are now after the Direct. And then, of course, we had Nintendo's Direct this week as well with a bunch of different games shown. So quite a few things to talk about. We'll be jumping around. But before we get to that, I did get a comment just yesterday from our good friend Don, who loves to leave comments for us to read off, Don Lionheart, for the chat. So he was talking about Yakuza because, as usual, with the numbering and the naming and all the crazy stuff that goes on with that series, he said, please read this off. He said, "Hi, friends." He goes, "I've done this before, but let's see if it sticks this time." I don't know if that's a shot at us or not, Don, but we'll move on. He said, "Yakuza Like a Dragon is Yakuza 7 in Japan. It's Like a Dragon 7 is what it's called. Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, is a side story, and it's supposedly set between 7 and the upcoming 8, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is Yakuza 8 / Like a Dragon 8 in Japan. They are mainline games, which are the numbered ones in Japan, and will be turn-based JRPGs for now at least. It is unknown if Gaiden will become a regular name or side series at this time, but it does star Kiryu, while 8 stars Kiryu and Ichiban. I hope that clears things up again."
Yep.
Not at all, but
as much as these things can be.
Yeah,
I didn't really need clearing up, but I will say the people who are in the Yakuza franchise, if you're buying the Yakuza games, you're already well beyond the point of a confusing title deterring you. You know what I mean? Like people who play the Yakuza games, they're in deep. They're in deep enough to where they'll figure out the whole title thing. I don't think that you need a numbered title in this series because it's such a specific niche in the US market. That's my feeling on it. It's almost like when we were talking about the Diofield Chronicles and those sorts of games that Square Enix is selling, and we were like, yeah, the naming conventions kind of draw that audience because if you know type of thing. I think it's kind of the same with Yakuza.
Triangle strategy and yeah,
it's like they're all weirdly named, and people who see them go, "Oh yeah, super hardcore JRPG," and that's exactly what they're in for. So I feel like maybe I don't know if it's strategic, but I feel like it probably doesn't matter for that specific series. So,
no, I think you're probably right.
I'm in it and I know what's up. Like as soon as I saw Ichiban on camera called Infinite Wealth, I was like, great, sequel to Like a Dragon. That's what I want.
Yeah.
And that's what we're getting.
How good was that trailer, by the way? It was awesome.
It's great. I mean, it didn't have any gameplay, but
No,
I already
no.
know what that gameplay is like. So
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, we know what that gameplay is, right? That's they played into the comedy, which I loved. So as always, we got a super chat before the show started from our good friend Googleman81. €5 super chat says the design of everyday things by Don Norman begins with the author explaining how he sometimes has trouble getting through doors. Mario likes shrooms. Fair. Figured that's how we start today. So
All right.
Googleman, thank you as always. Appreciate you. Okay, guys. So what have you been playing? Because it has been a few weeks. I'm sure there's all kinds of different games out there being played. We've still got Zelda. We've still got Diablo. Obviously, I've been also partaking in the new season of Halo. We've got Final Fantasy 16. So hit me. Where you want to begin?
Well, I was on vacation for a week, but I've been playing a bunch of Switch games because I was on vacation. So I've been enjoying a Animal Crossing type game called Cozy Grove that some of you are familiar with.
It's a great game.
Which, despite its title, is about helping the spirits of bears.
Yeah.
Helping the spirits of bears.
Yes, like
the dead spirits of bears. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cocaine bear?
You know, I haven't met up with a cocaine bear yet, but
okay. All right.
I can confirm.
Didn't know how the game was rated.
I can confirm there are no cocaine bears, but you do help the bears find out who they were in life, and reconnect with that before carrying on into the afterlife. You're sort of enjoying it. You're sort of in a liminal state, in like a in a what do you call it? What's the word for in between? Limbo, kind of. Yeah, that's not the word I was looking for, but that works. Yeah.
Okay.
You are a living spirit scout that is visiting a ghost bear island called Cozy Grove.
That's right.
Okay.
Purgatory. Right. Thank you. Whew. Thank
Purgatory.
You,
there you go. That's better.
That was going to bother me. That was going to bother me all day.
Shout out, Christy. Yeah, okay. I didn't expect to hear about that one today, but I like it. I like it. Yeah, I like that you explore games I haven't heard of.
Well, it's got that Animal Crossing kind of cadence, right? So it's good for vacation. You can only play it for like 45 minutes or an hour, and then it's like, come back tomorrow.
You have to play it daily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I watched my fiance play that game for maybe a year, every single day.
Is it a mobile game or a Switch game? What?
Yes.
It was on Xbox, but it is on mobile as well.
Okay.
Yes, my daughter was playing it on her iPad, and I was playing it on the Switch.
Yeah.
Nice.
She played it on Xbox for a year, and I watched the entire thing.
It's lovely. It's a lovely little game.
It's a great game. It's a great game.
Cool.
So I've been playing that, and then I just got back to my high performance consoles, right? Thank you, Federal Trade Commission. So
Generation 9 consoles.
I downloaded Final Fantasy 16. I had played the demo, which came out last week, and really enjoyed the demo. That was nice to feel because I didn't know about Final Fantasy 16. I think people have heard me talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
Just got past the demo from playing it yesterday. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. It's an action combat game. And so to me, it's really going to depend on how it does with its story. I like a lot of bits of its world building and storytelling from the demo, but that demo narratively is very propulsive and strong, and it kind of stops right when the demo does. So we'll see where it goes. I haven't gotten far enough to know. Okay.
Yeah. So I had, I posted about this. So I had the deluxe edition. I happened to get it for free, essentially a gift. And I didn't know if I wanted to keep it. And of course, the guys at SG just said, play the demo because your progress carries. And then if you like the demo, you have a better idea. So I played the demo yesterday because I've been kind of behind on games. And I really enjoyed it. I'm like you. I didn't know what to expect, but I enjoyed it. A lot of cutscenes, of course, but most of it was kind of character and world building, which is fine. And then, so I opened it yesterday. I installed it, but I haven't started the core game yet. So, but I am hearing from the guys at SG that are playing it that are like 30, 40, 50 hours into it, because it's a long game apparently, that there are parts that come up later that they really, really like. They feel are really, really strong. So we'll see. I just got to find the time. It's another.
Well, I mean, I think the demo establishes that they're willing to go really big. I think the biggest concern that I had with the demo, which is kind of bearing itself out, I don't know whether it will or not, is that rather than be inspired by Game of Thrones, they just kind of nakedly took components of Game of Thrones and put it in their story, right down to the sibling relationship with a ward from a defeated society, the Iron Islands just existing in Final Fantasy, you finding essentially a direwolf that you take up as your own pet, and so there's a lot of aspects of it that I worry are going to be more copying Game of Thrones than inspired by it. But we'll see long term. I really do like the world building of, okay, what is the geopolitical situation if there are 5 nuclear weapons that are also controlled by specific people? And what are those people in society? And what does war look like when you can pop out a nuclear weapon whenever you want? And I like that. I think they're digging into that a little bit. I worry that it might be too superficial, but I haven't played enough to know. The game itself is swinging a sword. So, I mean, that's disappointing for people that like a more in-depth tactical kind of concept to what you're going to be doing in terms of battles. But, I mean, they told us that was that. I do think everything that we've seen from the directs and the videos for the last year that were so defensive about, oh no, we're a real RPG, and look, you can talk to people in towns, and we've got party member sprites in the menu. I do think all of that defensiveness has been borne out as, realistically, it's not an RPG, like, at all. It's an action adventure story of a game of a God of War variety, and I don't know that it will have the kind of perspective complexity or storytelling complexity that I like from Final Fantasy, but they didn't have that in 15 either. They have not had a great run of doing that, honestly.
I think well said. Yeah. It is definitely weird. As you said, we knew this was coming, right? They told it, they were been very clear about it, but it is weird going into combat that initiates like Final Fantasy and then just becomes a button masher essentially. It's kind of strange. So I'll see where it takes me. I'll see how long I stay with it, but I'm pretty much in line with you. Good comments. Travis, you playing it at all? No interest? I can't remember.
I like it. I like Final Fantasy. I just don't I don't mind it necessarily trying some new stuff, which this game does. I will say I'm impressed how well they've made chocobos not look silly when they're ridden by. I think that's kind of cool. They're giving them like a more serious version and armor and stuff, which I think is kind of funny.
They look like armored ostriches. Yeah.
So far so good though. I'm still a kid in the game, so I've obviously not very far, but it's
you haven't gotten past the demo yet?
I haven't gotten past the demo in the game. I've been working on reviews and other stuff.
Sure.
But it's so far so good. Excited to see more giant zombies and stuff.
I think the demo is super strong. My limited concern, because I've only played about 2 more hours after that so far, is that it does stop pretty hard where the demo stops, and then you're kind of like, okay, here's another arena where I beat up on somebody. It's like, okay, but we got to keep going. And I think that if there's any concern, it's that. I don't mind the world map. I don't mind it being essentially a Final Fantasy Tactics kind of approach to a world, but I do get concerned about, wow, there's a really harsh stop there. And I do always worry if you didn't put all your great stuff or stuff that you felt really strongly about in that kind of sales pitch version of the game, and now we're going to have a lot of downtime. We'll see.
Yeah.
I do think that reviews and commentary have borne out some of what I was concerned about with the reduction in RPG aspects and the lack of party members and things like that. But I think more interestingly is that you go for this kind of 4-quadrant appeal, and you've got an action game, and you want to be on the front lines of what gaming is right now and be in the God of War type category. I do think you are getting certain responses from people online and from reviewers that don't know what they're looking at, right? Like, it feels like a Devil May Cry. It looks like a God of War, whatever you want to call it. And then it's got 16 hours of cutscenes between battles. And I think people are reacting to that when it's like, well, it's either a Final Fantasy or it's not in terms of storytelling, and it seems to want to try to be that. I don't know whether it will turn out or not, but it's got a lot of lore and background and world building that it's trying to do. And so it does have enormous cutscenes that I think are very well directed. I like how they look. I like the look of the game. I like the lighting in particular from the demo areas, which is very kind of dark. They do a good kind of nighttime looking approach to their video game. But I think it is turning certain people off, which are like, I don't want to hear Dante expound upon the natures of geopolitics for 16 hours.
There's a skip button for those people. I don't know at that point why you're playing a Final Fantasy game, but yeah, I mean, it's there for people who don't want it.
Yeah. One of the things that annoyed me in the demo in that vein was like, it'd be like 20 minutes of cutscene and then you walk 10 feet and then cutscene again. I'm like, why did you even make me walk 10 feet? That was a waste of time. And it did that several times over the course of the demo. So I am a little concerned, you saying, because obviously the demo ends on something pretty stark and drastic, which
you were fired up at the end of that demo. That title drop is good.
Yeah, it went further than I definitely thought it would, which surprised me, and was darker than I thought it would be, which I love. But hearing that the next couple hours in the main game kind of draw that to a halt and kind of start, I guess, fresh in terms of setting. We'll see.
There's a slowness to the momentum that I didn't like, but that first of all, that's subjective. Second of all, it doesn't mean that it's forever. I have only played a small amount of time after the demo ends.
I would expect it to slow down after where the demo ends and then kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of has to, right? But you can't have that. I guess it just depends what that arc is. Agreed. Midnight Jury, thank you for gifting a membership, and a shout out to Rick Davis for becoming a new channel member as well. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Okay. So, guys, I have been still addicted to Diablo, still playing that every day. So starting to run some late nightmare sigils and stuff with friends, and been having a lot of fun with that. And then, my stuff is pretty regular, right? Halo Season 4 came out this week. So new mode, career progression, battle pass, all that jazz. So been playing a lot of that, really enjoying it. New playlists and stuff, which are really fun, kind of freshen up the game. So that's been fun. But the game I most wanted to talk about is the finals. So I did a preview video of this. This is a game from Embark Studio, which was founded by the guy who founded DICE and created Battlefield nearly 20 years ago. The finals is this shooter in the future, which takes place like a game show, essentially. Very, very hectic, has big destruction in its environment, similar to, as you would expect, Battlefield, the old school Battlefields, but very kind of hyper-paced and chaotic. And when this trailer came out, I think at the Game Awards, maybe, it was either Game Awards or Summer Game Fest last year, it kind of blew a lot of shooter fans away, saying, oh, God, what is this? It looks amazing. And so I was very happy to be able to get into the closed test of that. And I will reiterate that it is amazing. It is fantastic. I think it's, needs some polish. It needs some tightening up in areas. Controller support is not native right now. So you're playing basically with a plugged in controller that functions like a mouse and keyboard. So that, made me shoot like crap. But other than that, the gameplay itself and the polish, first of all, no slowdown, even when buildings are blowing apart, everything runs really smooth. And then just the opportunity for like absolute chaotic madness to occur is amazing, because there's all kinds of different gadgets. There's all kinds of destructibility. There's 3 teams on the map. So it's 3 teams of 3 fighting each other. So you have this kind of tug of war going between the 3 teams. It is really, really impressive. And I had said in my preview video that assuming they deliver all the stuff we've talked about live service before, content delivery, are they ready to hit the gate running, all these things, right? Assuming they can do that, they've got something really special here that is unique. It stands alone in the shooter space. And I think this game is going to be very, very big for some, especially in the streaming space, because like I said, the opportunity for just like wow moments to happen in every match is very, very high. It's really cool. It's one of the most exciting shooters I've played in years.
Oh, that's good to hear. I think I had seen some people talking out of school in the beta The
Yeah.
name rings a bell.
Yeah. So 3 teams of 3, basically, the quick play mode. And there's ranked leagues. They've got a lot of stuff set up already. There's a battle pass in there already. There's cosmetics, all this stuff. But basically what you do is you kind of race towards a box that has money in it, right? And then you have to take that box to a place, insert it, and then defend it for a certain period of time. So it's almost like a king of the hill at that point. But like I said, what makes it interesting is 3 teams of 3. So you can each take it from each other. So you're constantly fighting back and forth for this money. And then the level design. So it's got a ton of verticality. You can go up on the roof. There's no fall damage. So like you can grapple hook all the way up on the roof and then come flying down. You can shoot rocket launchers, grenades, flamethrowers. All kinds of stuff. C4, all these different gadgets, jump pads. So you've kind of got almost this Apex Legends type chaos in it where, there's different abilities flying all over the place, but then the destructibility. So like, they're trying to load the money onto a floating platform. I just blew the whole platform up. The whole thing just comes flying apart and people scatter all over the place. And it's really, really cool. It's a ton of fun. If you like that old school Battlefield feel where it's like, oh, that guy's camping behind a wall. Well, don't go in there, just blow the whole building up. That's pretty much how this game is. And it's a ton of fun.
Nice. Lots of cool emergent shooters these days.
Yeah, I see Carl in the chat mentioning XDefiant. So I played that too. That is definitely aimed at Call of Duty. I am not a fan.
I was referring more to BattleBit, which is like basically Battlefield.
I saw that too. Yeah, I haven't played it.
Yeah, I bought that one. That one was fun.
Okay. But yeah, XDefiant is some people are really, really liking it. I did not like it at all. I installed it after about 3-4 matches. I was like, yeah, this is bland for me. But, to each their own. I know some people are really liking it too. BattleBit, you want to talk about that real quick? So if people don't know what that is, because it kind of took off on Steam this week.
It did, yeah. Got a lot of attention. It is a intentionally low-res shooter that I think it's 64 people in multiplayer. It's one of those like extremely large.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's even bigger, but yeah.
So is it 64 v 64? I thought.
I think it might be. I'll check.
But yeah, it was it's basically a callback to Battlefield, but let's not care about graphics. Let's care about how it feels and plays, which is just fun.
It's made by 3 people.
Yeah, it's made by a very small team, and it's very smooth. It's cool. I played it for a little bit. So yeah, it's
254 players per server.
Yeah, I feel like it's becoming more common now that people are able to kind of compete without enormous budgets in the shooter space, because the shooter used to be prohibitively expensive, and now you see people making like what was the one with portals that was
Splitgate
for a while? Splitgate, which I know kind of crashed and burned recently, but that was also a smaller studio, so it's kind of
bit
cool
off more than they could chew.
Yeah. It's
Someone asked me what I didn't like about XDefiant. So XDefiant, for me, very small arenas, very spawn, run at the enemy, shoot, either win or die, spawn again. It's Call of Duty. And some people love that. Call of Duty is the biggest shooter in the world. It's not like, people don't like Call of Duty. So, I get that people love that. It's just not for me. It has some abilities you can, throw in there per player, but it's very just run, aim, shoot, respawn, get in, get out, your 10-second loop type thing. And that has never really impressed me too much. There's not enough, I guess, it's not dynamic enough for me personally, where there's enough kind of variety in those engagements. I don't enjoy it. But
yeah,
each their own. Like I said, plenty of shooters for everyone.
Yeah, at some point, Call of Duty became really fixated on creating like chaotic maps that get you in the action as quickly as possible, and they're kind of
Big
like
time.
Almost intentionally poorly designed maps where the goal is to just like create these big heat zones that everybody kind of rushes
choke points you have to go through,
kills each other quickly. It's very off-putting if you're used to like arena shooters where it has almost the opposite philosophy, but a lot of people really like that because I think it does really well for casual play and also high skill play, and so it fills the people who just want to like mindlessly shoot, and then the people that are good enough to where they can run into those hot zones and still survive. So it kind of it appeals to two really big groups of people, and then
Agree.
yeah, everybody
I
else
think well said.
probably is
I
not
think
going
the skill gap in those games is twitch shooting, right? Your ability to react very quickly rather than strategic planning. To the same level anyway. So it's just different. It's fine.
Yeah.
But
not my bag either.
Say it again.
Not my bag either. The Call of Duty
and that's fine.
Well, the seasoning reduces the twitch timing. I mean, I used to be better at those games.
True. So I know that I don't know if any of you guys play it. I am not playing it, but I've heard very good things about the Mortal Kombat 1 stress test, which is going on this weekend. And I know a lot of people are loving Street Fighter 6 still too. I just haven't had time to get into as many games as I want to, but it sounds like, as we've talked about, it's going to be a very, very good year for the top fighters of the world as well. So we have Elu, who's in the chat, our editor, is playing Mortal Kombat Big Fighter. He's already got an article ready to go for tomorrow. So sounding really good.
Yeah, I'm waiting on Mortal Kombat, but I did play Street Fighter 6 a little bit. Mortal Kombat is like, I don't want to be involved in the coverage for that, because playing through those stories is like,
be careful, choose your words wisely.
That's Travis time.
I was gonna say, I think he's saying he likes that and he doesn't want to be reviewing it.
Exactly. I don't want to be involved with that. I want to be able to play it at my pace and just enjoy it, and not have to worry about coverage or writing a review or making a guide or anything. And so I'm just gonna hold off until that one's out, and I've already seen enough to know like I want to play it, and so I'm just gonna wait.
That is a good call. You and I have talked about that, right? Because I love Mortal Kombat. Grew up with it. It's my favorite fighter. I did review Mortal Kombat 11, but your point is very valid. Like I do like what they've done with the story modes in those games, and I do like the crypt and unlocking all those things, right? When they did that in MK11 and some of the other games, and having to rush through that and cover it kind of detracts from the experience for sure.
Yeah. So I don't want to do that. So I've been sticking away from Mortal Kombat, but the fighting game landscape. I mean, Mitchell Saltzman at IGN. He's just having the time of his life. Yeah, he covers all the fighting games for us, and he's like, I think he competes in like tournaments, so he's good.
Yes, I've been watching him complain about there not being a training mode in the beta.
That's the stress test.
That's really tough when you have to learn while you're playing in live matches against people. It's kind of weird.
Sorry if I was a bit loud. I realized my mic was up. Elu, who's typing right now on the SG side here, like I said, he covers almost all the fighting games for us because he's a diehard. We should get Elu and Mitch together. That'd be fun. Because Elu's frequently looking for competition.
Every time Mitch puts up a video, it's like, nope.
Yeah. Mitchell is like, he's insane. Like he competes.
That's good. Nuts. I love that. I love hearing that. I played Street Fighter 2. We're going back many years. Street Fighter 2 and MK1 and 2 in tournament level, but you're talking 25 years ago, right? If I suck at those games now as much as I love them. I'll probably be okay at MK1 because I'll put some time into it, but not to that level.
Yeah.
But what I love about fighting games, right? I am a competitive guy. I love that there's that skill gap. I love games with high skill gaps like that because it is cool when you see the people who dedicate themselves to it, and you can just watch them go nuts and do things that you couldn't pull off. Like I talk about Halo all the time. Halo Championship is coming back this weekend. The next major's next weekend, July 4th weekend, and I can't wait because those guys are just ridiculous, and watching them play just blows me away.
Yeah,
good stuff.
I think that can be the fun of something like Twitch. Is seeing ridiculous talent.
Yeah. There are a lot of those guys who
just not usually the most popular people anymore. It's interesting.
That's also true. Yeah, depending on who they are. Yeah, like some people have made a name for themselves, right? Like Shroud or other guys, but for the most part, the pros they're not in the hot tub. You know what I mean? They're not in the hot tub with the bikini on. They can't get the viewership.
They could be. You don't
know. Oh man, Travis, what are you playing, man? You play anything good?
You guys need to watch Players, by the way. Just another reminder that you need to watch Players.
You did tell us about that. I completely forgot. Put it in our DM so I'll see it because otherwise I'll forget again.
Yeah, it's too good. I'm playing lots of stuff. I would like to start out the day with a recommendation for Hoeg, actually. It is going to be on the Switch and on Steam. I reviewed it on the Steam Deck and finished my review on Friday. My review will be live on Tuesday. It is a game called Dave the Diver. And this is a game where you play an obese scuba diver who also runs a sushi bar at night. And if that doesn't sound like an amazing premise to you, you aren't a fun person. I don't want to hang out with you. It is a very weird indie game, and I will say I went in with almost no knowledge about what the game was going to be. My review isn't out yet, and I am under embargo, so I can't really talk about it. But what I can tell you is that the first 3 chapters I can talk about because it's been in early access for a while, and you can play the first 3 chapters. And the first 3 chapters give a very strong first impression and are a lot of fun to sink your teeth into. And I believe it comes out next week at some point, fully, all of the 7 chapters in the game. So I won't say more than that. It's sort of one of those games you just have to experience for yourself. Ains probably not a game for you, but Hoeg definitely one that you're going to want to play. So it's
I will check that out. Absolutely.
I saw the Steam reviews are overwhelmingly positive.
The Steam reviews are like 97 or 98% out of like tens of thousands, and that's just the first 3 chapters. So, I can't talk about beyond that, but I'll say that.
So the full game's not out yet.
The full game's not out yet. It's in early access, and so I reviewed the full game. I've put 40 hours into the game at this point, and I'm done playing it. It's that's all I can say.
Can you say when the embargo ends?
The embargo ends on the 26th, so I think my review goes live on Tuesday. Oh wait, tomorrow's the 26th.
Tomorrow's the 26th. I'll
have to check that. My review goes live really quick. It's done and just waiting to kind of hit the page.
Okay.
But
awesome.
Yeah, let me look.
I will absolutely check it out because in addition to Cozy Grove, I've been playing a game called Fall of Porcupine.
Great game.
Which is a 2D indie game in the what is it called? Like Night in the Woods or Night. I can't remember what that one was called. Style. So you're a pigeon that is also a resident of medicine at the local hospital.
I mean, naturally.
You have to take care of various animal residents and discover secrets about the town at the same time. And it's designed to kind of almost like Scrubs be about like young doctors finding their way through the medical system and the corporatization of insurance and all this kind of stuff while being a 2-dimensional talking pigeon.
Yep.
You guys, you're just out there exploring games.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're at the lake house, right? You got the Switch, and there's a Nintendo Direct, which we're going to talk about, and you just go through, and Nintendo has all sorts of weird indie games that you can just play. And so I'm enjoying Fall of Porcupine. I got Cozy Grove. Something else I got that is like a adventure game in the old kind of Hero Quest type of setting, but it's but those games are fun. So I will absolutely try something called Dave the Diver about a sushi store. 100%.
Tao in the chat says Bat Boy has him hooked. I haven't heard of that one.
I have not tried Bat Boy.
I don't know,
but I think I have seen that one.
Okay.
I typed in Bat Boy and I immediately got Bat Boy the musical, which I don't think he's recommending. But now I want to see Bat Boy.
You never know. Maybe he's
the old world news like
incidentally. Let's see Bat Boy the musical. Okay, yeah, this looks like a Shovel Knight type game. Interesting. Okay. Something to look at. So that one I want to recommend. Other games I played in the time since we last met, I think I reviewed a couple games.
You reviewed something bad because you told us you were back.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. I reviewed a game called The Gray Hill Incident, or actually just Gray Hill Incident. It is one of those games. I guess the best way to describe this for people who don't have context, there used to be a time where your lighting in your game was very much indicative of how much of a budget you had. And so when people saw trailers, they could see what the game looked like, and especially the lighting, I would say, was sort of a guide for like how AAA your game was. And therefore you could kind of go in with certain expectations of what the game is.
I remember thinking that about water.
Yeah, water is also another good indicator. And sort of one of the problems or issues that has arisen with engines getting better is that is no longer true at all. Right. And so you can see a trailer for a game that has incredibly good lighting and assets and start to get hyped for it. And then when the game comes out, you find out that it's, basically just using standard assets from Unreal 5 and isn't much of a game at all. And I reviewed a game called Grey Hill Incident that the reason we reviewed it is because its trailer got 500,000 views on when IGN posted the trailer. And so there was a lot of hype around it and comments about this game potentially being exciting. And I reviewed it. They were
like, Travis, this is getting a lot of hits and looks questionable. Where's Travis at?
Correct. That was basically the pitch to me. It was, hey, Travis, this game has a lot of interest, and we did not get early copies, so there were already people who played it, and their reactions was sort of like, this might be false advertising. I can indeed confirm that trailer was made up of 1 second clips. I don't think any clip in the entire trailer lasts more than 2 seconds. It just sort of like
they really chopped it up.
They really chopped it up and put music into it. And so it looks like what could be feasibly a high budget alien invasion game. It is not that. It is an extremely ill-conceived, poorly playing, buggy nightmare of a game that I gave a 3 out of 10, which is awful for those who don't know IGN's ranking scale. And yeah, you should not play that game. It is very bad. I spent way too many hours playing it to save you, so don't do it. But yeah, it was interesting going from Diablo to that. And yeah, somebody's pointing out the Choo Choo Charles thing. I will say Choo Choo Charles got a lot of pushback. I think people were really attached to that project, and the guy who was working on it and all that did not get so much pushback on Grey Hill Incident. We're actually none at all, if I'm being honest, and I gave it a worse score. So yeah, this was one of the very few games I reviewed and got pretty much no pushback on when I reviewed it poorly. I think the other one was Crossfire X. Actually, Nerf Legends also. So usually when I give a really low score, I don't get pushback unless you're Postal 4, which is the worst of all of them. So
did you see Running with Scissors, the developers of Postal 4? Did you see them nitpicking Starfield? I'm like, you guys have some balls, man.
I did not see that doing that, but based on the interactions I had with Starfield after my review went live, I would not be surprised at all by them acting poorly on.
You mean Postal 4? You said when
Starfield
review went live, I was like,
yeah. When my Postal 4 review went live, the Running with Scissors developers were interacting with me on social media in what I would describe as a fairly toxic manner. In now deleted tweets, thankfully they did delete them later on. But
and like people were calling them out. Whoever runs that account, we're calling them out. Like, really, you guys are picking on Starfield was for like
hilarious
nitpicks, and they were arguing with them, and I'm like, you guys have lost the plot. I think. Okay, got it.
Now, speaking of Starfield, we had the Xbox showcase that you were at, Ains.
I was,
and we were already off the show by then, right before the Starfield Direct.
Yeah.
What did you like? What showed best in the room at that show?
Good segue, Hoeg. So the nice thing was,
so you said good segue. It was.
Yeah, I know. I just put it out there. It's an long old joke from like 5 years ago on Bitcast before you guys were on. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So we were in the YouTube Theater, which is a smaller theater than the Microsoft Theater in LA, but it has really, really good sound. And me and a bunch of the community, including Hoeg from Iron Lords and a bunch of other people, were sitting together when we watched the show. And it was a great experience. Really great, energetic vibe in there. People excited, hyped. And as you know, I think you guys discussed last week, which I did listen to, by the way. I think we generally all agreed that it was a really good show overall. For Xbox. But I think what jumped out for me, a couple things. One, they kick off with Fable. I thought that was really cool. Obviously, we have to see more of the gameplay and everything that goes along with it. But I like the vibe that they're putting off with Fable. And I think that's important to capture with Fable. So I really like that. The biggest one for me, and I think Cog too, because when we saw the logo come up, we talked at dinner the night before, and we both agreed we want to see In Exile's game, the one they've been working on that Brian Fargo's been teasing. And when the logo came up, we literally did the Predator high five together, we got so excited. And so Clockwork Revolution is one that I'm super excited for. I think that game's going to be really special. They have the amount of talent working on that game from a RPG, Western RPG kind of development standpoint is impressive. And I think that game's going to be awesome.
You weren't confused into thinking that was BioShock Infinite.
I really like the way you worded it on Twitter, where it's you can be inspired by or things can have similarities. It doesn't mean they stole, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very stark.
I think anybody that watches that trailer goes, okay, that's a BioShock vibe they're aimed at, but that doesn't.
Yeah, no, to me, the vibe is extremely obvious in terms of the art style and what they're going for in terms of it being kind of like a almost kind of political look at a society type of thing. Was great, but I would say the premise and what they're going for was very different from anything that we've seen in the BioShock series, and I'm very optimistic about that game. Also, guys, anytime somebody does something that's kind of like BioShock and you knock on it for that, you're just going to get fewer of those games. And is that really the goal? Do we want to deter people from making awesome story-based single-player games that evaluate?
Yeah. Oh no, your game's going to be like BioShock.
Please,
God forbid.
Please stop that. Yeah.
It's just funny, right? Because we're not that far removed from what was it called, Atomic Heart? That is clearly a BioShock game. I mean, that is
tried to be
as BioShock as you
that
can
one. Yeah.
And I think it was okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I didn't get through it, so I guess I can't speak. But the first couple hours did not impress me.
I'm 100% with you. Yeah.
I fell apart on that one.
But I think there were a lot of good things. I'll tell you one of the games I didn't expect to see. I don't know about you guys, that I really impressed me with Capcom's game, and I'm gonna Path of the Goddess, is it called? Very, very colorful trailer. They played the kind of drums through the whole thing, and then it switched to gameplay about halfway through the trailer, and it looked just stunning, absolutely stunning. I don't know if I'm going to like the game. I don't know if I'm going to like the dynamics of the game, but in terms of just being impressed from a trailer, that one really hit it hard for me. So
yeah, didn't do much for me.
Okay.
Yeah, just sort of was like, all right, I don't know what this is, but we'll see when it comes out.
So what
nice.
What ones? I know you guys touched on a little bit, but we haven't had a time to talk through, and we don't want to spend forever on it. But what really jumped out to you outside of Starfield, which we'll get to? Anything really jump out to you from the presentation?
I lost my mind at Star Wars Outlaws when it was first revealed, because that was
looks really good.
First thing that they showed of that game. We knew that Massive was working on a open world Star Wars game, but I really did not expect it to be ready to show anything, especially as much as they showed. They had the reveal trailer and then a gameplay immediately following that the next day, which I thought was cool.
Yeah. It looks really good.
That one, I lost my mind. I also screamed when I saw Ichiban. That's
yes,
that's my boy. Anytime he shows up, I'm gonna be stoked.
I really did love that trailer.
All the Persona news or Persona developer sequels.
Metaphor.
Really, I mean, I know that Xbox has been partnering with them, but they really, really doubled down in a huge way. Also, I believe I asked you guys some trivia about the Persona that they're remastering at the trivia. So as you guys know, I really like the older Persona games, and it was cool to see that we're going to get that on Xbox as well.
Even Tactics looks cool.
Tactica looks amazing. Unfortunately, I already know who's reviewing that game, and it's not me. But that one's very excited. I also immediately slapped my name on the Payday 3 review. I'm going to try to get that one, because Payday, dude, I spent so much time in Payday 2, like a disgusting amount of time. So I'm really excited for Payday 3. That company's really been through the ringer, if you don't know. Their publisher got their leadership got sent to jail and stuff, a whole bunch of stuff happened at that company.
Yeah, not controversy, actual crimes.
Yeah, they committed crimes at that company, and that that's not a knock on the developer. It was nothing that they did. It was their executives who a lot of them are criminals. That's just how being an executive works. And the fact that Payday 3 is happening at all is kind of a miracle, because I after that company, like Starbreeze, they like lost a bunch of their publishing deals. They were supposed to publish Psychonauts 2, and then
that's right.
Yeah, they were getting
Wow.
into the publishing game, and then all of a
Right.
sudden all of their executives started going to jail, and they were like, we might not be a company anymore. And the fact that Payday 3 is happening is crazy. So I was very excited to see the gameplay of that and a release date this year. It's coming out soon. That was another thing. Like lots of games are coming out soon. Like I think Outlaws is also coming out like soon. There's just kind of some surprises that we saw that are like, yeah, they're coming out this September, this October.
Well, Outlaws is scheduled for 2024. I think that's always kind of an amorphous timescape.
Yeah. So
Frontiers of
maybe I'm not
Pandora
thinking
is
of that one.
December.
Yeah, that was we got the Avatar release date and then Payday release date, and it was just there were some surprises. I'm amazed things didn't leak. I mean, Xbox is like known for not being able to keep secrets, and a lot of those didn't get leaked.
Yeah, so I talked to some of the guys because I hung out with Jez and I hung out with Clobrio and a bunch of big guys in the Xbox community while I was there, and we were talking about that. And basically, what I was told is that they stopped giving any rundowns to influencers. So like they've literally shut it down to only internal Xbox people now. Nice. And I was like, well, yeah, why weren't you doing that to begin with? Duh. So, and I even spoke to my PR rep while there, super nice guy. And we were joking just before the show, like right as I was getting my media badge to go in, we were joking about it. And he's like, oh, you guys think there's only going to be 2 things there? Because everyone was talking about Fable and Avowed, which by the way, Avowed's another one I'm excited about.
Avowed looks great.
But he's like, yeah, you guys are gonna have fun. And I was like, okay, cool. And yeah, he was right. So.
I'd say Avowed looked weird to me. I was not as impressed. I guess I had been told it was in the Pillars of Eternity universe. I wasn't expecting it to be as piratey as it was. In terms of the announcements on the pirate scale, my favorite pirate announcement on the Xbox was the Monkey Island.
Yes. Oh my God. I knew what it was as soon as that trailer started, and I was already losing my mind.
They started playing the island music.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah. So I was not as impressed by Avowed. I tell you what I actually really liked from a couple of the shows is that I was surprised by what Don't Nod is working on. Like Don't Nod, not my favorite developer ever, but they're working on a game in Banishers that I think looks cool. And then I think the Xbox show had something called, I'm going to get it wrong, but it's like Jusant. It's the mountain climbing game.
Oh yeah. That one was cool. It's like the sci-fi one where you have a little pet, Ains. You got a little pet following you around. It's got the weird kind of like what do you call it? The art style that that other game had. I reviewed it.
The Witness. I mean, I don't know. It's colorful and blocky.
Yeah.
Is
it cell shaded? Is it cell shaded?
I don't think it's cell shaded, but it's got that color look.
Yeah.
Huh.
But I was really impressed by Don't Nod over the past week in a way that I wasn't expecting. So I think their games look cool.
Their games do look cool.
Huh.
Yeah, the thing that got me stoked for Avowed was that it was weird and it kind of reminded me of Morrowind. That's why I got excited about it, actually. Like it started with you getting off a boat, which I was like, all right. I think that's where a lot of people were drawing the pirate stuff. But then
they're also using I don't even know, like accordions. I'm no expert on pirate music, but it had a pirate vibe.
Yeah. And then they immediately transitioned to lots of really weird, colorful areas that don't really jive with a typical fantasy RPG setting, like just otherworldly, which is also kind of a Morrowind thing. So it just kind of reminded me of like older Western RPGs, which I have a positive association with. But yeah, I 100% understand. Like I also was thinking in the back of my head, a lot of people aren't going to like this, but I do. You know what I mean? Like I was like, this isn't really like, but that's what that studio does, right? That's Obsidian's whole bag is they make games that are a little bit more niche, but they're super, super beloved by the people that play them. And yeah, that I
Again,
think it'll be great.
super talented to your point too. Like loads
So
of talent over
talented
there.
at that sort of stuff. Yeah,
I think yeah, we talked about this on Cast Co-op, but it felt at least you know, kind of anecdotally as they wanted to, because sorry, let me back up. When Avowed was first shown, all of us kind of said, "Oh, Obsidian Skyrim," right? That's all we've heard for like 2 years, Obsidian Skyrim,
Yeah.
and it sounds like they wanted to kind of distinguish the game a little bit, maybe not directly from Skyrim, but just kind of put their own mark on it. And they've come out since the Xbox showcase and said that the game is in scope more similar to something like Outer Worlds than it is Skyrim. That was their exact quote, which is fine.
Yep.
So yeah, by the way, it is Jusant. I kind of went into the Xbox press thing while you guys were talking. So makers of Life is Strange, Vampire, Tell Me Why. Action puzzle game based on climbing. Narrative game told without spoken dialogue. Meditative journey. See you scaling an immeasurably tall tower covered with different biomes to explore, accompanied by the Ballast, a mysterious companion made entirely of water. It's coming fall 2023, so fall this year. Assuming it stays, of course. Yeah. South of Midnight was Compulsion's game. Teaser for that, of course, very unique looking, but
I thought it looked really cool. I've never really loved Compulsion's output, so
okay.
That to
Which
me
one was this?
South of Midnight.
It's the
yeah.
the guitar on the dock.
They're kind of hit or miss. Compulsion, obviously.
They were small. I think they were a smaller studio than people realize. Some people, because
I
when
really don't like We Happy Few.
Yeah,
And
We Happy Few's not.
I remember
good,
only kind of liking their Shadow game that was like a PlayStation 4 launch title.
Shadow game.
Yeah, it was like about shadows. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember the name either. But Compulsion was only like before Xbox bought them. They were only, if I remember correctly, someone could.
Oh, I know what game you're talking about. You're talking about the one where you're that girl and you. Sorry, I liked that game.
They were only like 30 some people. So I've always been curious to see, because they create unique things. And I've been curious to see what they can do with kind of time and funding. So we'll see how South of Midnight, delivers. But yeah, we'll see. Hey, shout out to Hargeet. Good to see you, brother. Hargeet's one of the guys I hung out with in LA. Really nice dude. Hope you're doing well, man. Thank you for becoming a member. And then, of course, for me, as you guys know, Forza Motorsport coming out October 10th.
Contrast, says the chat.
Oh, Contrast.
Thank
I remember
you.
that game.
Contrast.
Okay, thank you guys.
Yeah, that game's good. I like that game.
Thank you guys. But yeah, Forza was the other one. I'm super pumped out. I posted on Twitter, but I got a chance to sit down with Chris Sasaki, the director of it, for over an hour, like casually in the lobby of the hotel. Just had a drink and chatted about cars. We reminisced about cars and racing for like 45 minutes. It was amazing. And then he told me a few things about the tech behind Forza Motorsport and what's gone into it over the past few years. And it is impressive. Very, very impressive. So I think that game's going to be amazing for racing fans, of course. So
I will very much play that game. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, we're gonna set up. We've already got a group in our Discord. We're gonna set up a league and kind of, all kinds of maybe events and stuff. So it should be really fun. If you're looking to get into racing and Forza when it comes out, definitely check us out over there at SG. We'll have some people who really want to take it on. So should be good. Starfield. Let's talk about it. Well, first, let me get these couple super chats that have been sitting. So bear with me, because poor Alex, he's reviewing Final Fantasy 16 for us. He's $5 super chat. He says 21 hours into Final Fantasy 16. Finally hit the page turner moment. Don't know what that is. With the game after their deliberate story build up, wonky pacing aside, he's really liking it. So yeah, he's talking a lot about.
He's saying he got to propulsion again. 21 hours in. God help me. I hope it isn't 21 hours for me, but yes.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That it would not be a Final Fantasy game without bad pacing. So I'm into it.
Honestly, God, I'm going to come after Travis at some point.
Alex, shout out to you, man. Thank you.
You're gonna come after me after 20 hours of filler.
Yes. I'm going to talk a lot about the geopolitical situation between us for about 15 hours.
Yeah. And then you're going to criticize me about my opinion.
Then I'm going to look at my active lore journal about Travis. Find ways to really poke at you.
And then to Texas Seeds 999 super chat. Cheers, boys. Thank you, brother. Good to
Cheers,
see you. Hope you're doing
Seeds.
well. Yeah, Seeds is awesome. Good dude. Check out his channel. I've said that before, but yeah, good dude. Thank you guys.
We also didn't talk about Remnant 2, which got its release date. I'm very excited.
Which comes out next month. Are you reviewing
That
it?
was it. I am reviewing it. That was another one that
Yes.
got a release date announcement that was kind of very soon. Like it was June.
Yeah.
Early
July
mid-June.
25th, I think.
Yes, it's
So
July
it got
25th.
it got revealed a month before the game basically
Yes.
comes out, which
Yes.
is crazy. So and even less time for me because I think I get it on like July 10th or something. So
Fantastic. Yeah, Beast Mode, by the way, I was talking about compulsion size, right? With their earlier delivery, they've grown to 80 to 100 people from 10 or 12. So, like I said, they were a really small studio. I liked what they did with what they had. So
I believe We Happy Few was their second game. No,
I
only
don't
other
know.
game
I only know
is
Contrast at before it. So yeah.
So if that's true. And We Happy Few was like, it wasn't good. So don't let me lead you astray. But I did finish that game. It actually told a very good story, and you don't recognize what that story's about early on. It really takes a direction that you don't expect. And that's why after I finished that, I was just going to say that like that's when I said, okay, these guys have something. They just need time and funding to hopefully flesh it out. We'll see if they deliver.
We Happy Few, I think, did a couple things wrong. One was the type of game that it didn't really match with the story that it told. People kind of like when you look at the story they told and the way that game's introduced, and then you think, oh, survival like stealth game where you're sneaking around a city. That's not really, those don't really gel together, but it was a cool experiment. And the other thing was, I think they discovered for everyone, and now I think this is just something that we know as an industry, that early access and single player games don't really mix too well. Like early access and single player story based games that are that like dependent on story are kind of like peanut butter and garlic. Like it's just not, they kind of learn that for everybody, I think.
Peanut butter and garlic. All right, fair enough.
It sounds bad to me. I wouldn't eat that. I mean, I probably would.
Off.
But,
I'm sure someone in San Francisco or Brooklyn's eating it somewhere. You know.
I mean, I've eaten a peanut butter cheeseburger, which I never thought I'd. That was weird.
I've heard that's good.
I know that it's one of those things where you eat it and you're like, okay, it's not as bad as I would have thought, but it's still not as good as a cheeseburger. You know what I mean? Like without the peanut butter, I would have totally been okay with.
One more super chat shout out. By the way, we're nearly at 400 combined viewing. Thank you guys. Awesome to be back and hanging out with all of you. Just a reminder, I think everyone knows this, but we do simulcast across Season Gaming and HoegLaw. So if you can help us out on both, that's always appreciated. Argeet, $5 super chat says, hey guys, it was nice hanging out in LA. Certainly was, man. Great. Looking forward to hearing Hoeg talk about the FTC/Microsoft here. And we're getting to it. Curious as to whether this is normal. So we'll get to that right after Starfield. Actually, it's coming up. So thank you, Hargeet, for the super chat. Appreciate you, brother. Starfield. So I wanted to set this stage because when we talked about it last year, Hoeg, I distinctly recall you saying to some effect that you love sci-fi, right? This is like a big passion of yours, and you were super excited for the concept of Starfield. But what was shown last year seemed it obviously needed more polish, which we know, right? But it seemed rather, in your words, well, I don't want to say in your words, but you kind of alluded to it being kind of drab, right? It feel kind of everything was gray. It didn't have that kind of living world sci-fi vibe that you were hoping for. So we got this 45-minute direct. I will tell you, being there in person with everyone and watching this 45-minute show kind of develop with the little humorous segments they had in there. Todd Howard was on stage, of course, was really great. And I think that for me, just to start at a high level, for me, I was very, very impressed at the scope of this game. And in terms of not how large it is, but rather how many different things you can do in it, right? So like if you want to approach it from just exploring, just walking around, flying to planets and walking around, you can do that. If you want to play it like a core mainline RPG, story-driven, it seems like you can do that. We don't know if it's going to be good. We'll see. If you want to be a pirate, you can do that. If you want space combat, you can do that. And I just think it's really cool that they've kind of seemingly blended all these different aspects of their games over the past 20-plus years, 30-plus years, whatever it's been, into this kind of sci-fi mix. What's going on, Travis?
Destin Legary is in the chat.
Destin's in the chat. What's up, Destin?
So what's up, Destin? How you doing, buddy?
So
what do you think, Hoeg? Did this one hit for you better than last year? Did you?
Yeah,
more
I mean,
excited?
I think this is the one. This is the one that'll hype you up if you're so inclined to be hyped for Starfield. I certainly am. I do
Cool.
give it the caveat that this is the pitch video, right? The pitch is strong, but
Yes.
you can see how, okay, it might not be as bespoke and handmade as is suggested by parts of the video. There might be other things that might not be as grandiose or as big as is suggested by the pitch. And I think we have to kind of reserve for that going into September. But I think that this video is about as strong a push for Starfield as you could make it. I'm looking forward to trying it out, and I hope it's as grand as they suggest.
Yeah, for me, I was in between kind of, I think, the people who were presuming a lot of hype, which Ains, I think I would put you in that category of people who are presuming hype just based on previous conversations we had.
Yeah.
And Hoeg on the opposite end, who was like kind of actively not hyped by what he'd seen so far. I was sort of in the middle because Destin, I hate you so much. For those who don't know what's happening right now, Destin Legary and I have been frenemies for a number of years. And he's a very well-known IGN director and I guess now YouTuber, and he hates me. With
Travis,
cause.
Travis is actually departing. He has to go. But Destin's going to take his spot. It'll be fine.
Destin's going to take my spot. I think Destin takes a lot of joy in knowing that he could have my job at any point. Like he does everything better than me, except for he's Canadian, so I feel like he loses a few points there. Yeah. So I was sort of in between you two because I generally don't get hyped about games until I see them. Because other times, if you do, you sometimes get Gotham Knighted. But I feel like Bethesda has a great track record and pedigree, and they're a team I generally trust. And so I was sort of giving them the benefit of the doubt, which I think they've earned. I think it's kind of fair to give Bethesda the benefit of the doubt at this time. And I will say that they very much answered all the questions I had, right? Because I had concerns. Like when they said 1,000 plus planets, my first thought was, that doesn't sound good. That sounds like too many planets. That sounds like they're not going to be fun to explore. Yeah. And then their answer of, okay, well, they're procedurally generated and then pre-constructed kind of points of interest get populated on the world as you explore it. That's what I needed to hear. Like it answered my question of like, okay, how are you doing this logistically? All the RPG elements of like how much of a Bethesda RPG is this? When you see the skill trees, when you see the buying, having your own fleet of ships that you can fully customize, when you see the relationship and social links, and yes, dating sim mechanics, when you see the space combat, which actually looked pretty beefy to me. It looked like you could really get in there.
Pretty good.
And the ability to board ships, was not expecting that. All that stuff, it was just like halfway through, I went from on the fence to, oh yeah, we excited now. And then I bought that damn controller because I'm a simp.
Yeah, it's right behind me, as you can see. So, yep.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's nice to have these release dates be like, okay, thank you for the hype video. Game comes out in 3 months is much better than Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that is Bethesda's move historically, is they don't really show anything until they fully open the kimono and then just say we're coming out in 3 to 6 months. And so it was cool to see them stick with that. I just think that their studio can't hide anymore.
I guess. I mean, they had a November last year date.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that as a studio, that was because of a delay though, right? Like I feel like they've had a bit of they always have delays, but they're usually better about waiting until the very last minute until they have to show something. Like that's what they did with Fallout 4. They were just like, hey, here's everything about Fallout 4, and then it's coming out in a couple months. And I think that's typically their move. It's just now they're so big, people are going to be talking about their game whether they announce it or not 10 years before that game comes out. People were talking about Elder Scrolls 6 at the FTC hearing this weekend, you know what I mean, or on Friday. So like stuff like that is it's just news now. And so I feel like that makes their games, to me, it takes away some of the magic. Like I don't want to hear about Skyrim or Elder Scrolls 6 until they're ready to actually show me something substantial. But I feel like when you get as big as they are, you can't do that. You have to talk about your next game, and you have to talk about it early, which is why they've already announced that they're working on Elder Scrolls 6. Part of it is like strategic. People get hyped about games you're building who work in the industry, and it's how you recruit. Like, you have to kind of tell the world what you're working on so that people who want to build that game will want to work for you. And then part of it is, just it's kind of the heavy part of heavy weighs the crown, right? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I was super excited about Starfield, and I am now very, very much looking forward to losing my entire life in that game. I have no idea how I'm going to play it. It's coming out at the worst possible time. I'm sure I'm going to be reviewing 8 games that month. And one of them is not Starfield, because my boss is reviewing Starfield, Dan Stapleton, as he should, by the way. He's the guy you want at that game. He's a sci-fi absolute nerd. He is a space combat absolute nerd. He is a Bethesda RPG absolute nerd. He's the guy. Also, he's the best critic I've ever seen in the industry. So he's just the guy you want on that game. But yeah, I have no idea how I'm going to play it, but it's very, very exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's funny, September, because Liza P, which I was really impressed with that demo too, comes out in September. And then they're showing, one thing we didn't mention is the Phantom Liberty expansion for Cyberpunk. As you guys know, I really enjoy Cyberpunk. So Phantom Liberty looks great, and I did a preview of that. But when I was watching it, I was like, please don't say September. Please don't say September. And they're like, September 26th. And I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing to me? Like, I can't do this. So, and I think I'm reviewing Starfield for us. So it's like,
are you actually? Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
And I, as you guys know, I play games slow to begin with like that. Like I'm very much like Elden Ring I reviewed, right? And it was like, I put nearly 100 hours just for the review for that game, because I can't play them fast. You know what I mean? I'm not the person who can just beeline an RPG story. That's just not how I play games. So I have to kind of just not sleep for 2 weeks, while we're going to do this review. So we'll see. But I will say, after the direct, Starfield I was hyped for, but not, to your point, Travis, I was hyped for it, but it wasn't like my most anticipated game. Like, I was like, okay, Diablo was easily my most anticipated game. Now with Diablo out, Starfield, and after the direct, Starfield is far and away my most anticipated game. I think that's going to be a game that, like a lot of their games, are played for generations. And I just see losing myself in that game, no doubt.
Yeah, no, I think it was a very strong showing, and I think September, October is starting to look like May, June. This year is crazy.
It's ridiculous. This has to be. Maybe we're about to say the same thing.
Do you think you could win Game of the Year over Zelda?
I think Zelda has it 95% probably in the bag, if you will. But I think that if Starfield actually delivers a polished, all-encompassing experience that we hope it will, I don't know if it will, obviously, that we hope it will, I think it has a chance. But Zelda is just Zelda. I mean...
Well, I'm still concerned about Starfield's story. I mean, I know I'm not supposed to be because Bethesda, but like, you see an artifact and it speaks to your mind. It's like, okay, all right, we've been down this road.
Yeah. They've got the powerful MacGuffin that gives you powers. But I think the advantage here, Hoeg, is that it's also up against a game with a pretty weak story. Like, Zelda's never really been a story-centered game, and I don't think that's
not selling you on story. I mean, Bethesda's selling you on an RPG experience, right?
Yeah, I think. I mean, is Tears of the Kingdom an RPG? Do you?
Well, we can go down this road if we want to.
I'm not going down a 20 minute
I had a very long thread about what a JRPG is with various people at IGN, I think. But is Zelda an RPG? I think Zelda is an action adventure.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I get muddled. I don't appreciate the definition of RPG or JRPG because I think they're way too amoebas to have any real value. But I think that they both have the same weaknesses and the same strengths, which is that they're playgrounds that you want to play in and experiment with. And I think they both kind of have that inherent advantage. I'm getting an echo, by the way. I don't know where that's coming from.
I don't know. I think you're right, and I think you're looking at that objectively. And I'm not even.
I mean, I know what Zelda is, right? I played Zelda. Zelda's amazing. I don't know what Starfield is yet, and so I look at what I can see from Starfield and say there's still a world in which that pitch is not lying, is accurate, but the planets feel empty and the bespoke elements feel artificial. And I hope that's not the case. I'm excited about Starfield, but there's still a world in which that pitch is the Destiny pitch, and then Destiny pops out.
Correct.
True. Yeah, and that's why I said it all depends on delivery, right? It depends on what this game actually delivers. But
there also will be bugs. We don't know how bad they will be. Yeah.
Sure, but I think you guys are maybe underselling, or you're just not saying it. That the name Zelda just brings a weight with it. That Starfield, even being a Todd Howard Bethesda game we've all waited for generations for, Zelda's just Zelda, and Zelda has a kind of aura about it that. Telling you, I'll be shocked if Starfield.
I think Bethesda RPGs do too. I mean, you're talking about
they do, but among a different
once
audience.
in a decade. When was the last? When did Fallout 4 come out?
A while ago.
I keep
it was a while ago.
Fallout 4 exists.
And Destin, by the way, said I think Zelda will win, but holding on to hope for Starfield. That's pretty much.
Yeah, I think like if you're a betting man, you bet on Zelda right now because Starfield is not out; it's unproven, and we've seen Zelda and we know it's like a 10 out of 10 game. So
yeah,
I would also bet on Zelda, but I think you, Ains, are underestimating the allure of a Todd Howard Bethesda RPG because every one of those has been.
I chatted with Todd Howard in LA, and by the way, we chatted about Delaware of all things, which was amazing, by the way, because he used to go to the mall where I worked my first job, and we had.
I love that you spent a week in California, and now you're just like a celebrity name dropping whore. Like I love that. I love it. I
told Todd,
you just became Californian.
Wait. When you meet Todd Howard, you don't expect to talk to him about your job when you were 15 years old at Chick-fil-A. Like you don't expect, that's not where you expect the conversation to go, but that's the conversation we had. But anyway, I do agree with you that what do you call it? Yeah, Starfield has that allure to it as well. You're right. But I think Zelda's the proven at this point. Starfield has to prove it. And there's some people who, what is with these people that just have to assault Bethesda games? Like if you don't like a Bethesda game, that's fine. But if you're denying their impact or the amount of people that play them and love them, you're fooling yourself. It's okay not to like them. A couple weird comments in chat is what I'm referring to, but it's okay. I just don't get it. Like you see this, like Starfield Direct comes out, a lot of people are hyped, and people are like, "Oh, it's a Bethesda game; it'll be broken and 0 out of 10." I don't know why people are hyped, and it's like, okay, sure.
Because Skyrim put you in a world and had very exciting things for you to go and explore, and if that could be broadened out to something like Starfield, I think people can do that in their head and say that could be amazing. I agree. I think that's worth being excited about. Be excited about life, folks. It's exciting. So I have no problem with hype, but I don't think we can guarantee that it's game of the year type stuff until we actually see how it's operating.
Agreed. By the way, Destin said, I stood next to Todd Howard and asked Phil Spencer about the production timing of the show because I'm a freaking moron.
Yeah. He got a double name drop in there, and then he offset it with some, kind of self hating language, which is what you're supposed to do, right? When you name drop, you have to like make it.
Yeah,
you don't want it to sound like you're bragging too much. So
are you suggesting that is false self-deprecation?
I mean, I'm not gonna look.
You also said he's Canadian.
I'm gonna name drop Destin Gary. I've met the man a number of times. Freaking moron is a great way to describe him, but I don't,
Man, I've spent a lot of time on video with Travis and Destin, so
yeah, you're really just getting hit from both sides. That's not a combo anybody wants. We had an entire show about where we were on it, and the show got canceled because the feedback was clear. Destin and Travis in the same show, that's too much of a bad thing. We need something to balance that out, please.
Just a high level of smarm.
So, yeah, high level smarm, cheeky Californians. So yeah,
that's too funny.
But speaking of name dropping, you were at a certain preliminary injunction hearing this week, weren't you, Travis? You met some folks.
I did. Actually, Destin was the one who put me on that. He sent me all the times and was like, you should go to this. So yeah, that was a good time. I did go, Destin.
People getting to learn about our wonderful judicial processes.
So that's great. What I was going to say before we get into the details.
Yeah.
Hoeg, can you set the stage as to what's actually occurring? Like what
are we even looking at? Why are we here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I think that's important, right?
So the FTC at the end of last year, I think a lot of people remember, moves to block the purchase of Activision-Blizzard King by Microsoft, but doesn't move to block it with their actual blocking powers. The FTC, unlike the DOJ, has an internal system that allows them to ask their own judge what they think about blocking a deal. And then if the judge says no, they can just overrule them, which a lot of people have a problem with. There's a Supreme Court case that was recently decided about it. That's all to the side because the FTC doesn't have the power to block the deal themselves. When Microsoft starts to make noises that they're just going to close the deal over this particular block, then the FTC goes to a federal court and says, you have to stop them because they're going to try to close the deal. Federal court says, okay, in the statute you can ask for a injunction. And so the FTC asks for a temporary restraining order, which is the easiest thing that they can get in between the time that it takes to actually evaluate the injunction. And then here in right now, this weekend, the last 2 days, and then the next 3, I think, they're having a hearing about whether a preliminary injunction should issue, preventing Microsoft from closing the deal until they can actually have a formal federal trial over the matter. Yep. And so that's what everybody's talking about is, should the court step in on a preliminary basis right now and prevent Microsoft from actually consummating their deal with Activision before they can decide whether there's an actual antitrust violation. So this is preliminary. That's what the preliminary in PI stands for. And this is all less evidence than you would need to actually win your case. But winning your case, if you're the FTC, is a part of the court's evaluation of whether or not to issue an injunction. Because as you can imagine, the court doesn't want to stop somebody from doing something that will ultimately be found to be legal. So one of the things they evaluate are the merits of the case. Is the FTC likely to win at the end of the day? And so that's why you see all these arguments in the last couple of days about what Sony is getting, what they aren't getting, what's exclusive, what's not, whether Microsoft lied about ZeniMax, etc. A whole bunch of things that I don't think are actually terribly salient to the point of whether or not this is a deal that is in violation of antitrust law, but that the FTC has decided to hang their hat on. And so that's why you get a couple of days of seemingly random bits of news coming out of the FTC's questioning, and Phil and Pete Hines and Sarah Bond and Matt Booty and all these various people that have been interrogated by an FTC that seemingly doesn't even know exactly what it wants to focus its attacks on.
Yeah, it is a very interesting, it seems, if I were an outsider and I didn't know what the trial was about and I was trying to guess based on the FTC's questioning, I would think that they were trying to block the Bethesda deal because they've spent so much time talking about the Bethesda deal, which is not what is up for debate at this point in time. They're sort of pointing to it as proof that this is what Microsoft does when they acquire companies. They foreclose these games against their competitors because there's a lot of evidence to point to on, them taking Starfield exclusive, them, taking basically that entire library of games exclusive because of emails where they said that they were going to do that. However, the argument that Microsoft is making is that the Bethesda acquisition, the ZeniMax acquisition, is not the same as the Activision, which they are saying is a mobile play. It's not about getting exclusive titles. They already did that with ZeniMax. This is about them breaking the mobile space, them breaking up the duopoly. I think there's a lot of merit to that. I think the FTC has an extremely uphill battle for protecting the interests of the existing market leader, Sony, which is the main kind of advocate for this deal not going through, and for essentially what they'd be doing is ensuring that the duopoly continues to exist, on which I think it probably will anyway. I think Microsoft's aspirational goals are a little far-fetched in that case, but the way that they're pitching it to the FTC, or to the judge, is, hey, this would help competition in the biggest part of gaming, which is the mobile space, and the fastest growing part of gaming. So
well, and the FTC is pursuing an odd path, which is that they are going for market foreclosure of the console space.
Yes.
That Microsoft's purchase of Activision will eliminate Sony PlayStation from the market. And that is a fairly insane statement to make. Now, Sony made it themselves in their own legal documents in December of this past year, which is why one of the really big kind of bombs in the hearings was that Jim Ryan, head of Sony, or for these purposes, had a PlayStation, right?
SIE.
Had an email that said, not only is this not an exclusivity play, but we'll be fine, which any reasonable person following the industry knows, right? I have videos from the end of last year saying this is insane, Sony. I called it Call of Duty. And with some of my most astute political and high-end observations, I put an emoji of a poop. with the spelling of
Yeah.
duty, DOODY, right? I mean, this is just great YouTubing right there. But it's true. Sony comes out and says, without independent Activision, will cease to exist. It's like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
And then you've got the president saying in an internal email that the FTC would have had before they brought their claims, saying, "No, we'll be fine." That's a problem for the federal.
It is a problem,
not Sony. Sony going and then saying in a legal document that, "Oh, we'll die if this happens," is more of a forward-looking statement. People ask me if they could be like sued. It's like, no, not really. They're expected to advance their own interests, and it's hyperbolic, but it's not really the kind of lie that we would expect legal liability to attach to.
Yeah, it isn't a lie if it can't be proven to be false, right?
I mean, it's like, well, I think we'll be fine, and then later I don't think we'll be fine. That happens to people, and it might seem unlikely. I think it is enormously unlikely, but it's hard to attach liability to that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very interesting stuff to me, because I'm super deep into the industry, and there's been a lot of like legal stuff where they're asking like very basic information because they're trying to explain to the judge in the court like exactly what these terms are, and so some of that is just you're kind of waiting for that to get done so they can get to the meat of it. But just hearing about how the industry works, how Xbox thinks of PlayStation as an aggressive competitor, how Starfield was possibly in another timeline going to be a PlayStation exclusive, which was part of the reason Xbox apparently went and bought ZeniMax.
We knew that already, but
yeah,
that
just
was
all
rumored
that
leaks. But I mean, I think the important thing about the legal process is that these things get reported on as fact, right? Phil Spencer confirms that kind of thing. And it's an adversarial process. You have to start examining things the way it's useful to someone. Microsoft wants to be seen as acquiring things defensively because that's useful in this context. So all of their arguments are, no, we bought ZeniMax in response to our aggressive competitor. We bought Activision because their stock price dove and it was within our range. Right? It's all defensive. It's all opportunistic. It's not grand plans with steepled fingers and mustache twirling. And so I would be hesitant to have headlines that say Phil Spencer confirms. It's Microsoft to search this plausible version of reality that is, happens to be useful to them from a rhetorical standpoint.
Yep. Yeah, they're doing exactly what Sony's doing by falling over and pretending to be dead. We're hearing a lot of like the of Xbox saying, we're last on console, we're last on PC, we're last on mobile, all this stuff, which anybody who's looking at their business knows that they're doing great. Xbox is doing amazing, I think, but they're very much posturing. It's kind of like watching a soccer match where people are flopping all over the place. You're seeing both sides flop a lot and pretend like they're defenseless when they're actually both very strong corporations that have a lot of money and a lot of success in the market. But they can't say that because they don't want to appear like they're I call this a reverse puffer fish. They want to appear smaller than they actually are and defenseless.
They do it that. But I mean, the FTC pursued an unusual course here for what we are seeing right now, which is that I said this in a tweet. You guys can follow me on Twitter at HoegLaw if you're interested, because I've been tweeting more about this than doing videos because I'm not really making virtual legalities right now for reasons that relate to my rehabilitation and that I don't want to go into. But for the most part, the FTC has stood up and said all these markets are a problem when even the CMA in the United Kingdom and the European Union dropped consoles, because it doesn't make any sense for Microsoft to purchase Activision and try to do something to the Sony PlayStation, who is this market leader and isn't going to die if they lose Call of Duty. And all that would happen is Microsoft would lose billions of dollars. And so everybody else dropped consoles. The FTC has wasted 2 days essentially fighting over consoles, and it's not a market I think they have any chance of winning.
Yeah. They should have focused on cloud and speculating. They should have focused on cloud
because the European Union, even though they're allowing the deal, said that they found a potential problem with cloud. Now, I think that's silly, but you've got at least a plausible argument that you can tell the judge, hey, other regulatory bodies found cloud to be an issue. You can't prove cloud is or isn't an issue. It's an issue with a nascent market. And so you go and you create doubt and you sow fog and cloudiness, no pun intended, in that particular topic. And then you see what happens. Console's a sure loser for them, I think.
Yeah. I think this case is a loser for them. I think if they want to break up this deal, it will have to be in a full court case after Microsoft has gone through with the deal, and then they would have to do the whole breaking up the big tech afterwards, which in my opinion is kind of how it's supposed to work, right? You're not supposed to regulate speculatively. You're supposed to regulate once monopolies are created and it's created bad landscapes for consumers. So I think that's where this is going. But what do I know? I'm just a guy wearing a suit, hanging out in the courtroom in San Francisco. I love that it's here, by the way. It's great seeing the whole industry kind of come and hang out with us, and it's good. I don't know why it's happening here. I have no insight.
Bagels for all.
Scoop bagels for one and for all. Everyone gets part of a bagel.
So just to close out on this one, so I believe you were right, Hoeg. Correct me if I'm wrong. 3 more days, right? So Monday through Wednesday of this week.
I think they said closing statements is Thursday.
Okay. So what would be the next step after this then? Because
I would expect that the judge will deny the preliminary injunction a few days after that, but it will be denied or granted. That's what'll happen next.
Okay.
Yep. It'll be denied or granted, and then according to Microsoft, which this is probably a lie, another feign.
Again, it's useful to say.
It's useful to say if the preliminary injunction is granted and they are not allowed to close the deal, then Microsoft says that they will not go through with the acquisition, which is probably not true. But they have to say it because they want to make it seem like this would completely ruin their whole business and their whole deal.
From a legal standpoint, what the court is evaluating and deciding to grant or deny the preliminary injunction is, will the FTC ultimately win the case? We talked about that. What are the markets that we're talking about? And what are the balance of the equities? What does that random legal jibber jabber mean? It means who's going to be harmed? Would it be fair for them to be harmed? Who's going to be helped? Would it be fair for them to be helped? So one of Microsoft's stances here is if you grant this, the whole deal dies. Every benefit we've said is gone. All this money is wasted. Only the lawyers get paid. You should really think twice about doing this, court. And the FTC says, well, you have to grant it because we can't unwind the deal easily after it happens. To which Microsoft responds, no, we silo our acquisition targets. You can unwind it whenever you want. You don't need a preliminary injunction to unwind this after the fact. So everything that both sides are saying is just by happenstance, very useful to their rhetorical need to either get or not get the preliminary injunction. So that's the only reason I would be cautious about just reading tweets or headlines about any of this stuff, is that it almost all lines up with what you would want if you're on one side or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is what you'd expect. And I think it's drawn out some pretty interesting debate from the community. There's good points on both sides. The way business models work, what Phil Spencer said on the stand was, in regards to Final Fantasy 16, that they paid to keep it off of Xbox, not to make it exclusive to PlayStation, which is kind of interesting rhetoric, but also hearing from the other sides of what things that the FTC are saying about Microsoft's vice grip on the PC market and other areas of tech that kind of give them a huge advantage here. And the fact that they are claiming that if they don't make money as a business, they won't get more money on Xbox, and then also have $70 billion that they're giving toward Xbox and the community. It's very funny to hear kind of some of the stuff here. I think they're both making good points, but yeah, from a legal perspective, I think the law is very much on Microsoft's side, and I would expect that to be the outcome, but we'll see. There's also a lot of politics at hand here, so there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that it doesn't just go the other way. We'll see.
Oh, I never guarantee anything on a court decision. That is one person's mind.
Yep.
That's kind of funny. All right. Well, I appreciate the insight as always. We will see how the acquisition turns over the next few days, and we can provide another update next week. So we do have a couple super chats here to get to, including a couple back on Starfield. So let me back up to these. Michael Patton with the $5 super chat says, the problem is the FCC doesn't have a good model to argue over cloud because they clearly don't understand it.
I don't know if that's true. I would give these regulatory bodies a little bit more credit than that. They do understand vertical monopolies. I'll tell you that much. And I think that's the question at hand here. The question is, does does the cloud market have a vertical monopoly, or could it have one easily? And I think the answer is pretty obviously no.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it's a separate market at all. I mean, part of the issue you've got with all these things is that these are different mechanisms for getting the same products and services.
Yeah. It's a very easy conversation to have, or very easy kind of market to just mash into one. And I think that's probably what Microsoft's lawyers are going to try to do. But yeah, I could see it both ways. I could see it being there definitely is a case to be made that cloud is the future, and that if Microsoft is allowed to dominate that market, it'll be bad for consumers. But I don't think
cloud is a mechanism of delivery, right? I mean, mechanisms of delivery are not separate markets.
Yeah, but it's a mechanism of delivery that has a lot of advantages over console if it works. There's too many hurdles there, and more importantly, the FTC hasn't even made those arguments. So
they haven't gotten to cloud because they've been spending 2 days on console.
Yeah. Michael, he followed up. He said, right, they aren't separate, but the FTC thinks it is.
Well, again, I characterize all this by what's useful, right? The FTC needs them to be separate.
Yeah, if they're
Fair.
one market, then Microsoft's ability to dominate cloud doesn't help them at all in proving that they're a monopoly. So I think they're going to try to prove that they're separate markets and that cloud is really dangerous. And I think that's probably their strongest argument, but they haven't even begun to make it. And I think it's probably a losing argument anyway, because the market is so nascent. And
well, understand, they have to establish the market. Then they have to establish that Microsoft can withhold things from that market. Then they have to establish that matters a damn in that market. Right. And what Microsoft has here is Call of Duty. And I would argue Twitch shooters are probably the least likely to affect the freaking cloud market. I know that FTC has gone out there and said, well, no, Twitch shooters would still be important. But it's like, no, everything that has that kind of speed is going to be the most problematic from a technological standpoint for controlling that market, period.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, sorry. I adjusted the way they shift up because of our new layout. It was looking really odd, so I switched it this way. Thank you, Michael. Britt 199 super chat. He says, "Hoeg, you make the cloud cloudy?"
I did. No pun intended, but it did come out that way.
Britt, thank you for the super chat. I've got a couple Starfield ones. So Gecko in the house. Gecko Gamer with the €6 super chat. Starfield looked and sounded like No Man's Sky, but with RPG elements. I don't know why this.
I think that's a little reductive, but it definitely has No Man's Sky in it. But No Man's Sky doesn't have story elements realistically at all. I mean, it has kind of a visual novel bit of telling you a little something, but a Bethesda RPG is wildly different in terms of scope there.
It also doesn't have stuff like combat. Like No Man's Sky basically doesn't have it. It has like some very, very light combat, but that's not its focus. It's less of an RPG. By a lot, actually. Basically, you're kind of shoehorned into a role in No Man's Sky. I think people say it because you can travel between planets and you have a laser gun to mine resources. That's really where the similarities end.
I think that is. Well, and you have the weird aliens.
That's true. Weird aliens, procedurally generated planets. I don't think there's a way to do procedurally generated planets, or to do planets without procedural generation in some way, though, because it's just too much.
I was actually impressed. He said 10% of planets have life, which means, theoretically 100 planets have life. I think that's so, like, even if you said, like, I only want to explore the ones with life, that's still a ridiculous amount. The one thing I forgot to mention, which was kind of disappointing to me, I don't know about you guys, is no land vehicles. So you're always walking or jetpacking on the planet itself.
Did they confirm no land vehicles?
Yeah, Todd
they did.
Interesting.
Which is weird. That seemed weird to me because I wanted to Mako around, the best Mass Effect where you could drive the Mako. I wanted to Mako around on the planets, and I
love that you said the best Mass Effect, and then the one where you drive the Mako, the worst part of that game. I love that. I love how well you undermined your argument. That was amazing.
That was kind of the point, but yeah. Thank you, Gecko. It's always good to see you. Shu says, €2 super chat. Can't wait to build a Dan-shaped ship.
It'll just be Hitman.
Hitman. Send pictures whenever you do that. I'm very curious as to what you are visioning for a Dan-shaped ship. But we'll share that.
Just
on
looks
the
like a
stream.
Cracker Barrel location. Just flies around and.
There you go. And Mr. Don Lionheart in the house, $10 super chat. Hi, Bitcasters, popping in to show some love. Also, did you read my comment on the last episode? I explained the Yakuza series titling again. Should share here. Got to present accurate info. Yes, we did. You missed it, Don. We did right at the start of the show, actually. So thank you for that. I didn't miss it. Don't worry. But appreciate the super chat. Hope you are doing well, my friend. Travis is hiding.
It was discovered.
All right. So moving on from
solid exclamation point sound.
Yeah. All right. So Xbox Showcase, Starfield, FTC. Why don't we move over to some actual games? It's crazy, but let's do it. Nintendo Direct this week. So we had a 40-minute give or take Nintendo Direct with I gotta completely be honest with you guys, and I've said this before, but the Switch doesn't get played much around my house. I very rarely break it out. But with this Nintendo Direct, there were a couple things here that jumped out to me, which I did not expect. So the two biggest, which I think are probably pretty widely shared, but for me is one, the remake of Super Mario RPG, the Super Nintendo Classic, which
out of nowhere,
which was awesome to see, because that game, I haven't touched that game in 20 plus years, however long it's been.
Gino.
I got to tell you, my daughter, who obviously doesn't have the historical background of these games that we do, says I would rather play Paper Mario. That's her response. Is she really likes the cuteness of Paper Mario?
Okay, all right.
Because I was explaining to her, she's like, "Well, why? How is that different from Paper Mario if it's a Mario RPG?" And I was like, "Well, it was the first one, and it was done by Square and all these various things."
Yeah.
And she's like, "But I like Paper Mario. It would have been cuter if it was Paper Mario."
Ignorance is bliss.
I mean, no, she's right. It would have been cuter. But is cuter the measurement for greatness in games? If you are Hoeg's daughter, it certainly is. And, I have always
from coming after him, Hoeg.
But
I've always felt that one of the main advantages I've had in life is that I'm not Hoeg's daughter. I've always felt that. Even before I met Hoeg, I just felt that.
We can unpack that in many ways, but we're not going to do it on this show. So yeah, I think that looks great. By the way, that comes out November 17th. But by far, honestly, guys, for me, the biggest kind of thing that blew me away that I'm super excited about is Super Mario Wonder. The fact that we're getting a new 2D classic platforming Mario. We don't know the size and scope, but from what I've looked, what I've looked up the details about it, as little as they've shared, it does look to be a fully featured kind of, Super Mario 2D game. That comes out October 20th, but I am ridiculously excited for that. I adore classic 2D Mario. Super Mario World is an all-time GOAT to me.
Yes, that Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Wonder week is an interesting one.
Yes.
I like that somebody in the comments wrote Super Maria looks great. I like the
Super
idea.
Maria.
Super Maria. Yeah,
all right. I mean, they're trying to cover all the bases, I guess, nowadays in 2023.
Cell phone right there.
Super Maria.
Wonder looks amazing.
Wonder looks fantastic. I love the art style. I love some of the things they showed in the level design, the variety. It's the first Switch game I'm like legitimately super hyped for in a long time for me, which I love. I love that.
Other than Tears of the Kingdom, which I know you were
of
super
course.
excited
I mean,
about.
that goes without saying.
Come on, Tears of the Kingdom's good. Admit it. Have you been playing more?
I was enjoying it. And then I got Diablo to review, and we know what happened.
Diablo.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm also still playing Diablo. I'm liking it. It's a good game.
But a lot of other good stuff here too, guys. Obviously, the big ones I just noted here. So, Sonic Superstars, another 2D kind of throwback to classic Sonic, coming this fall. Pikmin 4 was a big one, obviously, for Nintendo and the Switch. That comes out July 21st.
Love Pikmin.
Do you really?
I love Pikmin.
Yeah,
I
Pikmin's
love
awesome.
it.
Oh.
I love it.
I played the first one on GameCube, and I haven't touched it since.
Those were the days, bro. Yeah, no, I'm gonna replay 1 and 2 because they're doing a dual pack for that first,
yes,
and then the games, and then I think 3 is already on the Switch, so I'm gonna play all 3 of those, and then Pikmin 4. Yeah, I love Pikmin. I love all games, guys. Games are great. What's not to like?
Games are pretty incredible. Mario Kart 8, the next booster pass with new track and characters for that's coming this summer, and then they announced Mario and Rabbids, The Last Spark Hunter is out now. It is a live service, no doubt. The Last Spark Hunter expansion for Spark of Hope is out now as well. There are a bunch of other, kind of little things.
That's the second to last. They're adding Rayman later.
Oh, that's right. Good shout.
Did you call him Raymond?
I did.
I didn't know he was Jewish.
Raymond.
Raymond. I didn't realize he was part of the tribe, Hoeg. That's pretty good.
It's like Googleman.
Googleman.
Raymond. Later.
Hey, I'm Raymond. How are you? Welcome to my house. You jump on this platform, you jump on that platform. I'm every which way.
You have no body. You need to eat something. You're Hoeg.
Yeah.
That's the most I've seen you laugh, or the hardest I've seen you laugh in a long time. I love it. Oh man. Fifth String says everybody loves Rayman Legends. Oh god, that's great.
Always jumping everywhere. What's all the jumping?
Oh my god, was there? What was your favorite stuff from this show besides this?
I mean, probably Wonder. I mean, I think
Okay.
that was a super surprise, and I do think it has the same kind of caveat I have for the Starfield Direct, which is that one of the things they really worked on showing in that trailer is how weird and wild it could be, and that might be it. What we saw in the trailer might be the only weird and wild things in the game. You don't know until you actually play it. I hope it's not, but
Yeah,
Mario
I mean,
turns into an elephant and things get stretchy. Okay,
yeah, it feels like I don't know. Though, here's what I took from it: Nintendo at a direct presenting a new 2D Mario. Excuse me. Feels like they wouldn't commit to this in the way they did if it wasn't a fully featured 2D Mario. Is the theme I'm getting? I don't think this is going to be lackluster.
I agree. No, I'm excited about it.
Travis
it's
is
the
still
lawyer in
laughing.
me that can't help but say, "All right, it's still a trailer, folks."
Sure. And if you go to their site, like go to Nintendo directly and look at this, there is a misshaped JPEG, not a joke, on the page where it just takes you to the Nintendo store to pre-order it. There's nothing else. There is no other information on the game. So, yeah.
Well,
But
I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be awesome. But that was a great direct. I mean, I really enjoyed that Nintendo Direct. I like the breadth of gaming opportunities that Nintendo continues to show, right? Regardless of what the FTC says, Nintendo is out there doing all sorts of weird stuff. Not just first party, but third parties are also bringing in weird games.
Big time.
Am I excited about the Arkham trilogy? No, that's not what I play my Switch
That was
for.
crazy. That was the craziest announcement they did.
Arkham Trilogy, Metal Gear Solid, Vampire Survivors, Persona Tactica.
Metal Gear
all
Solid,
those-
I have
all
a
those
complicated
sound great.
relationship with because it's like Konami just appears to be putting Metal Gears out there and being like, "Well, we need some money now."
Yeah,
I
pretty much.
don't know.
Oh, the gaming industry makes a lot of money? Okay.
Crazy.
Let's throw
What
stuff
IP
everywhere.
do we have? Well, we still have those Metal Gear games. Okay, put them back out.
No doubt.
Yeah, speaking of the FTC and the Nintendo Switch, I love that every single interaction was, yeah, but the Switch isn't really a 9th generation console, right? And then he was like, yeah, but they beat us like every month. They beat both of us. They sell more consoles than Sony. They sell more consoles than Xbox. I don't know what you want from me. It's worse tech, and they beat us with it. So
yeah, Nintendo's
that
annual
plays off
revenue in the gaming segment is like it's just behind Xbox, and that's only because Xbox acquired Bethesda. Like
this is why the FTC is. That's why I'm characterizing it as wasting time, right? I mean, it's like they try to pull Nintendo out of the market because Nintendo kills their console argument because Microsoft turns around and says, "Really, you need Call of Duty to survive in the console space? Let's take a look, shall we?" And they look at Nintendo. So the FTC has to say, "No, Nintendo is completely different." Say, "Well, we have a lot of precedent in both law and regulation that says product differentiation doesn't a separate market make. A car can have a different engine. A fan can run at a different speed. That doesn't make it a different market. You want to play a video game, you got the option of a Switch or an S or an X or a PlayStation 5. Those are all the same market. Target puts them in the same place. You're thinking about these things the same way. We're talking about them on the same podcast. That's how these things work."
Yeah.
And the FTC says, no, it's a lot less powerful. Great. Doesn't really matter, does it?
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah,
but yeah, I will say that the thing I was most excited about at that show was Super Mario RPG. I have a very fond
Okay.
memory of that. I think that game came out when I was very young, or at the very least,
Oh
I
yeah,
played it
that
when
was
I was
Super
very young.
Nintendo. I mean, you're in
It's weird. Super Mario
95,
RPG has some
94.
weirdness in it.
95, 94. So I was like 5 or 4 years old, whatever. Yeah, that game was one of the first JRPGs I would have played then.
That's SquareSoft at its most majestic.
Squaresoft,
Mid-90s.
absolutely.
Majestic.
And I'm absolutely pissed that I don't have my copy anymore, and I sold it years ago.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about
96.
that.
96.
96. All right, so I was a little older. So yeah, maybe not my first JRPG then.
It's a little
but
older.
Yeah,
How old were you?
6.
I was a little older.
You guys don't get it though. You guys don't get it, okay? When I was 6 years old, I had seen some things. I had played a lot of video games. So that was not.
Travis was
I
deep
played
into Manhunter in '96. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, my first console was Atari 2600. I played the crap out of Atari in the early 90s when I was very small. So yeah, that was good, a good time. But yeah, I'm very excited about that game, as are many people at IGN.
Yeah.
A friend of mine at IGN whose wife is giving birth this weekend messaged me. I messaged him to see how things were going with the whole birthing process, and he responded to me, and I quote, "Screw the kid, Super Mario RPG," which I think is, that just speaks to the excitement around this particular
Yeah.
title.
You can save that for the bar mitzvah or whatever.
I'm
good
definitely
story.
going to. Yeah, that's a great Discord message to have in my my history. But yeah, that's the one I'm most excited for. Although
Nice.
Pikmin is a close second. I
Pikmin will be
love
awesome.
Pikmin. I love Pikmin.
That's cool. That's good. Yeah, man.
Night
so,
Pikmin, man. Night Pikmin. Get excited.
Dog with no nose. Just what we needed.
with as you said, Alan Wake 2 and Super Mario Wonder and Spider-Man 2, this is one of those moments where, like, as big as Spider-Man 2 will be, and I know it's going to sell gangbusters, it's a game I'm personally not interested in, which I'm thankful for, because it means I can play Alan Wake 2 and Super Mario Wonder, 2 very different games, in late October, and kind of enjoy them without thinking, oh shit, I got to play Spider-Man as well. So it's good.
Yeah, no, the September-October lineup is
but I have
good as
Forza.
May, June.
Forza's October too, so I'm screwed either way. So
it's going to be a good one.
Yeah,
it's been a heck of a year already.
I know a lot of people are saying this now, but a few years ago we had the debate on this show. It was probably before you both were on here, around did 2017 finally top 2007 as the best year for games ever, and I think we decided at the time no. I think 2023 is. I don't know how this doesn't end up being the best year for games ever.
I think you've collected a lot of 2021 and 2022 games because of the
Yep.
pandemic. So
You sure have.
Exactly.
You sure have.
Yeah, and it's created this ridiculous year for gaming, which is amazing. Let me catch up on a couple super chats. We got Don Lionheart now, $5 super chat. The best Mads effect. I'd like to see that game.
Now I want to see Mads in a Mass Effect game.
The best Mads effect, the one where you can drive the Mako, Yumi and Andromeda, right? Don't get Hoeg started, Don. Don't get him started.
Yes, my favorite Hoeg argument. Yes.
Andromeda is second, not first.
There we go. Collapse from within, this alliance of you. Yeah, this is he's the Russian military general. It's a strife.
Oof,
Mutiny.
Oof. All right.
Too close?
Too close. Don, thank you. Shoosh with the €5 super chat. Best Mass Effect is the one that gets to be actually shipped.
Because it's on disc.
Or is it punned? Because
or is he referring that the new Mass Effect, who knows when it's actually going to ship and if it's actually going to be good?
It's probably that, but I like our answers better.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, it can go either direction. Shoosh, thank you very much. And then Gecko Gamer back again with the €11 super chat, covering up Travis almost entirely. Quite a bit aside. Recently, the Uncharted roller coaster opened in Portaventura. Opened. Okay. Reception has been good besides the horrible opening day, 6-hour long line and no AC. Oh boy. I didn't even know there was an Uncharted roller coaster. Did we talk about this?
Tom Holland or someone else? I don't.
Travis is enjoying this way too much.
He's easily pleased.
Yes.
I didn't know that either. I'm not a big theme park guy. Too much levity.
Okay. That's pretty cool. Do you actually like go off the track at one point and then magically just reappear back on it? Or
Yes, it's Uncharted.
No, for a while you have to get off the ride and you have to chain it to a tree and get it up the mud. You know, you have to do that for about 30 minutes.
You have to climb down like the stanchions, but they have little yellow handkerchiefs.
No, there's a whole part where you're walking up the mud and you have to get your Jeep to go. You have to you know, tie it to a tree, and it's like 30 minutes. It's like really slows down the pacing of the ride.
Emergent gameplay, man. Emergent gameplay.
It's immersive.
I believe there's a Tom Holland animatronic. How could you tell the difference?
Lol.
That's cool though, Gecko. I was
what
not
park
aware of
is
that.
that at? What park is that
He
at?
said Portaventura.
Portaventura. Gecko is in. Where do we say Gecko is? South Africa. I don't know why South Africa entered my head.
I don't think that's right.
It's probably not. Oh, it's in Spain. He just said. So I was not even close. So
I mean, they're basically the same country, same history.
Africa.
Oh, and it's not
a country.
It's not Portaventura.
He said South Africa. Okay, that is a country. How dare you?
It's
How
not
dare you,
Portaventura, which would be in like Southern California. It's Port Aventura.
Oh, I see.
All right, Raymond.
That's a perfectly valid way to pronounce that.
It is a perfectly valid way to pronounce that that Semitic cartoon.
I like Raymond.
I'm way too much fun. We're going off the rails here, quite literally, as we're talking about an Uncharted roller coaster. So it seems to fit, to be honest with you. Thank you, Gecko, for the super chat and the info. Appreciate you. All right, guys. Chat, you've been awesome today. We were nearly at 450 concurrent, which is great. Great to be back. Great to chat with everyone. Dan, I think, assuming he survives his mission, should be back next week. We will see. We'll keep you updated. And next week, we should have a guest as well, a guest that I am very excited to talk to, excuse me. I've been speaking with him a while. It is a developer at Respawn who works on Apex Legends. And very knowledgeable guy, a lot of insight in a lot of aspects, obviously, of game development. So I think, assuming he can make it next week, that'll be a fantastic conversation and some good insight into development. He talks a lot, Travis, about working from home. And he is a proponent of it. But I'm very curious to hear his insight into such a topic and what it's actually like developing Apex Legends remotely and how that impacted the team and all those types of things. So it'll be good. Should be good.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
For us, right now on Season Gaming, you can check out, like I said, I have a preview of the finals that get the shooter I spoke about. You can see that up on the channel. Check that out if you'd like to. There is a new Invincible demo. I talked about that a little while ago. The Invincible, the status law. Based on the novel, the game based on the novel. There's a new demo up for that from a different section of the game that was provided to press.
Is that like the second or third demo?
It's the second one that I'm aware of. So I'm going to check that out this week and hopefully talk about that next week as well on the show. And then I'm also writing an article on Xbox relating to some of the things they discussed off air in LA. So there was a 45-minute to an hour long discussion with Sarah Bond, Phil Spencer, Matt Booty, and Todd Howard, given to only press that you could record, but you couldn't. It wasn't broadcast. So some commentary around the industry and future things where Microsoft is looking their game output, right? So writing an article about all that as well. Hopefully I'll have that up this week as well. So Travis, what you want to shout out, man?
Yeah, I've got an upcoming preview about a massively multiplayer online game that I'm playing a ton of right now, but can't really talk about what it is because it's not an announced game yet. And then I've got, I think my next review might be a Switch game, and then after that, probably Remnant 2. So I've got some content going up there. But other than that, I'm just churning out the usual reviews and previews that you can expect from me. You can find that all on IGN.com. And aside from that, hoping to finish Cyberpunk still before the expansion comes out.
How many
that was another thing.
How many hours do you have in it? Like legitimately?
It's a completionist playthrough. So I probably play Cyberpunk like 1 hour to 90 minutes per week.
Okay.
I got to tell you, every Cyberpunk news item that comes out, I want to play the version I have on my Xbox less because even the stuff with what is it called? Phantom Liberty.
Yep.
They said that they've reworked all of the skill point trees and
that's what I was just gonna say. Yeah, is that the game's gonna feel brand new in September again. So like,
yeah. But I do want to beat the main story before that all comes out, so I'm not completely lost. And I'm gonna do that. Damn it! I swear I am. That's like one of the ones I can't back down on. I've also been enjoying Elder Scrolls, by the way. Elder Scrolls Online came out with an expansion, Necrom, which is pretty cool. So I've been checking that out a little bit. Good game. So many good games, man. It's gonna be busy.
There's not enough time.
I love ESO. Disclaimer: my brother works for ZeniMax.
Nice. You mean Xbox?
Yeah. Well, I mean ZeniMax Online Studios.
Yeah.
By the way, one of the things that I'm going to write about in my article that they spoke about, Matt Booty spoke about in that discussion, I think some sites, I think IGN might have posted it too, is that because of Fallout 76, ESO, and the number of those kind of live service games, right, that Xbox has under its umbrella now, they have over 150 million monthly active users, MAUs, which, people, I see some people in the showcases ask, like, why are they showing Fallout 76 again? Why are they showing ESO? And it's like, I think you underestimate how many people play those damn games. Like,
Fallout 76 rallied hardcore. I reviewed that game. I think I gave
audiences.
it like a 5 or a 4. And it's much bigger and much better now. It actually has NPCs and storylines and stuff it didn't have at all in game
Microsoft has shown a general willingness to go save the floundering live service game, which I think is nice. I'm looking forward to it someday happening with Halo.
Stop it. Damn you.
No, he's right, though, because they do bail on some of their projects, and some of them they stick with. I'm wondering what the calculus is there for which ones they stick with.
They've done right.
Bleeding Edge, they killed off.
Bleeding Edge canceled, but Sea of Thieves has done well, right? Halo is on a curve, I'll say. State of Decay 2, they continue to support. That's
I give Halo crap, but I want Halo to succeed. I want you guys to love Halo, but
well, I mean, they do
love it, but trust me, when I got some more insight while out there, and like it, people are like, when are we going to see campaign? The next campaign, and I'm telling them, like,
never.
Don't hold your breath. It's going to be.
Didn't they basically announce that campaign hadn't been worked on, and then half the team got laid off? So I assume
they didn't announce it, but yeah.
And then
there's literally nobody working on campaign.
Right? Yeah, of course there's not. Yeah, I figured that was true.
Yeah, so it's going to be a long time, which saddens me, but yeah, the point is made. Anyway, Hoeg, anything you want to shout out, man?
No, I think I said as part of this episode that I haven't been making legal videos because it's proven to be a little bit more difficult than I thought it would be. In my recovery process, I want to get back to doing that. We have Lawyers and Dragons. We had a week off while I was away, but we come back with episode, I think it's 4 or 5, this coming Saturday, and we're having a lot of fun playing Lawyers and Dragons. It's a really big season. We've got visual elements. We've got a lot more stuff coming. If you haven't checked it out, you should, because we're going to have a lot of fun. There might even be a face that you're familiar with in Lawyers and Dragons sometime soon. So hopefully you guys can come over and check that out on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. But other than that, I'm hoping to get some virtual legalities up in the future. Obviously, this hearing stuff, I'm getting a lot of DMs on. I'm being asked for a lot of comments on. And I feel bad about not being able to be more present in that discussion. So I'm trying to get there. But it's a process, folks. I am a go-getter. I am a guy that likes to get things done and proceed through this. And I'm working through rehab as fast as I can, but
you know what I think would be helpful? Anytime somebody asks for content, you could just show them, like, send them a picture of like your brain scar. I think that would probably be like, that's like the ultimate rebuttal, right? Is like, hey,
I'm a nice guy, Travis. I like to be friendly with folks. And I like that people ask me my opinion on things. I don't want to be.
I was not friendly. That's a perfectly valid answer to anything. Hey man, where's the content? Here's a picture of my brain scar. What do you think about this? That's what I'm dealing with.
It's healing too nicely here. You can barely see it.
That is true. Yeah, unless you look hard, it kind of blends in.
Yeah.
I will say though, I have to imagine, Hogan, not to get too deep into it, but I have to imagine that's got to be frustrating, right? Like you know what you're used to putting out, and not being able to kind of do that as people are asking for. It's got to be frustrating. But I am with Travis too. It's like, anyone asking you for content, you can be like, all right, calm down. Like, come on,
Hoeg's used to putting something.
Well, I mean, look, I can tell people right now, we're not returning to 12 to 14 videos a week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not happening, but I definitely want to be doing commentary on this. I'm behind on this story now, so that's also its own kind of roadblock. So I've been thinking about how to do like a roundup of here's what's happened since we last talked about Microsoft and the FTC, and now we can talk about what's happening today. But it's a trick, and I apologize for that. I would love to be doing more.
You don't have anything to apologize for.
It's the nature of me.
I disagree. Yeah. Feel guilt. Phil.
But yeah, I mean, I told you before, you're a machine, so that I hope no one is expecting that. So I'm sure some people are, but they shouldn't be. So, all right, chat, you've been awesome today. Great being back with you guys. Seriously, I miss talking games with you guys. I love it. I have way too much fun. Good laughs today. Hopefully Dan will rejoin us. Hopefully we'll have the guests next week. Looking forward to it, to get back in our regular routine here. We'll be back next Sunday as always. If you enjoyed the show, you know the usual. Give us a like, share it out on the channel, share it out, hit us up on the audio side. We really, really appreciate it. Until then, we will see you next Sunday. Peace.